As the sun rises over St. Peter's Basilica, its golden rays stretching across the Vatican's ancient stone walls, a quiet uncertainty lingers in the hearts of millions of Catholics worldwide. Pope Francis, the 266th leader of the Catholic Church, now finds himself in a moment of deep vulnerability, facing one of the greatest trials of his life. At 88 years old, the man who has carried the weight of the Church on his shoulders for over a decade is now in critical condition, battling a severe respiratory infection. The news of his frail health has sent ripples across the world, prompting prayers, reflections, and discussions about his legacy. But to truly understand the gravity of this moment, we must step back and look at the extraordinary journey of Jorge Mario Bergoglio, the Jesuit priest from Argentina who became the people's pope. From the moment he stepped onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica on March 13, 2013, Pope Francis signaled that his papacy would be different. He chose the name Francis, after Saint Francis of Assisi, a man known for his love of the poor and his radical humility. Unlike many of his predecessors, he refused to live in the luxurious apostolic palace, choosing instead a modest apartment in the Vatican guest house. He rejected the extravagant papal robes and even paid his own hotel bill after being elected pope. But these small gestures were only the beginning. His papacy would be defined by a commitment to mercy, justice, and the radical love of Jesus Christ. He opened the Church's doors wider, welcoming those who felt abandoned or judged. He spoke openly about issues often seen as taboo, challenging the Church to embrace the marginalized, the poor, the refugees, the LGBTQ+ community, and those suffering from mental illness. Above all, Pope Francis championed the Gospel's call to serve the least of these. He washed the feet of prisoners, dined with the homeless, and embraced those whom society had cast aside. His words were not just empty rhetoric, they were backed by actions that mirrored the life of Jesus. Pope Francis' economic teachings have been some of the most radical in modern church history. He has consistently called for an economy of inclusion, condemning greed and systems that keep the rich richer while the poor suffer. In his 2015 encyclical Laudato Si', he not only called for environmental stewardship but also linked it to social justice, arguing that climate change disproportionately affects the world's most vulnerable people. Following the example of Jesus, who dined with tax collectors and sinners, Pope Francis embraced the outcasts. He urged the world to see migrants not as statistics but as human beings with dignity. He challenged governments to act with compassion and solidarity. Even in the face of criticism, he remained steadfast, reminding the Church that, in the end, we will be judged on how we treated the least of these, Matthew 25 verse 40. In an era marked by division, Pope Francis became a bridge builder. He facilitated peace talks between Cuba and the United States. He met with religious leaders from Islam, Judaism, and Orthodox Christianity, promoting interfaith dialogue and understanding. His vision of unity extended beyond doctrinal debates. He believed the love of Christ should break down barriers, not build them. Not one to shy away from difficult truths, Pope Francis sought to reform the Vatican from within. He tackled corruption in the Church's finances and held clergy accountable for sexual abuse scandals. His leadership was marked by a determination to restore the Church's credibility and ensure that justice was served. Now, as Pope Francis remains in critical condition at Rome's Gemelli Hospital, the world watches and prays. His recent struggles with respiratory infections, pneumonia, and other ailments have raised concerns about his ability to continue leading the Church. Despite his illness, he has continued to meet with cardinals and bishops, refusing to let his suffering silence him. Reports suggest that his condition remains serious, with doctors closely monitoring his oxygen levels and administering blood transfusions. Given his history of lung issues, having lost part of one lung in his youth, his recovery is uncertain. Vatican officials have assured the faithful that he is receiving the best medical care, but speculation about a possible resignation has intensified. Cardinal Gianfranco Ravasi recently hinted at the possibility of Pope Francis stepping down if he is no longer able to fulfill his duties. However, as of now, the Pope has not made any formal decisions regarding resignation. Pope Francis' journey from a young boy in Buenos Aires to the leader of 1.3 billion Catholics, has been marked by faith, humility, and an unshakable trust in God. Whether he recovers or transitions to eternal rest, his message will not fade. The world may be divided by politics, wars, and social struggles, but his voice has been a constant reminder of Christ's love. And so, as the church prays for its shepherd, the words of St. Paul ring true. I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith. 2 Timothy 4 verse 7. May the will of God be done.